A very warm welcome to all of you. Welcome to today's class. I'm Ridhima Bhatia and we're discussing Chapter 9, Advanced Tax, TDS and Introduction to TCS. So we've been given one extra class to cover all the many topics. I hope you people have revised your concepts of TDS and the Advanced Tax which we did in the last class. Today's agenda would be to cover interest in relation to Advanced Tax and TCS. So I welcome you all to today's class and let's begin. So before we begin, again the same drill. Anyone has any particular query? Hope you practiced the advanced tax questions. Because कोई query नहीं है, short. Obviously, sections you will remember it as in when and more you do. Okay. So 1 second. So great. I hope everyone has settled in. Queries, yes, no. Advanced tax calculate करना आ गया. Practice a lot. There are lots of income tax calculator available online, especially by the government portal. Put in your figures, practice those questions. If you feel that you have very less questions to practice, do it from there. So quick revision. A quick revision of the advanced tax. I think Pooja, please, when you say a concern, specifically say what is the concern on that topic. Okay. So very quickly, we'll just revise what we did in the previous class. Whenever you have to calculate advanced tax, you have to calculate advanced tax only when the advanced tax liability. I'm saying again, the advanced tax liability, not your tax liability, but the advanced tax liability is more than 10,000. The point here you have to remember is that you have to calculate all of those things on the basis of estimation. So you have to calculate advanced tax when the advanced tax liability estimated one is 10,000 or more. How do you do it? You estimate your income, you estimate your tax, you reduce the TDS which you assume would be deducted, and then you calculate your advanced tax which has to be deposited. Tax minus TDS which is to be deducted. This is all for the previous year calculation which you will be doing. So this saal, the ongoing year, you will not be depositing advanced tax for previous year 21, 22 or 22, 23. Or 23, 24. You will be depositing TDS for the period 22, 23. So similarly, the previous year which is applicable to you, the question will come for the previous year 21, 22. Okay, so once you calculate your advance tax, you have to deposit it during the year itself. That's why the name is advance, because in generally you estimate your income, actual income, and assess it in the assessment year, right? So advances, you are not doing it in the assessment year, but doing in the previous year itself. So once you calculate your estimated tax liability, you divide it into 4 installments. Up to 15 June, you have to deposit 15% of the entire advance tax. Up to 15 September, you have to deposit 45% of the entire advance tax. So, 45% of the entire advance tax does not mean that 45% of 82,600. So, pura ka pura September mein you have to pay. No, that is that September that 45% should have been done. So that means whatever has been deposited earlier would be reduced, and whatever the remaining is, that would go in my second installment. So here in this question, as 37,170 had to be deposited, so that's why I reduced the one which I deposited earlier, which is 12,390, the 24,780. Similarly, up to 15 December, 75% of the advance tax has to be done. That is 61950. All of these are cumulative, okay? So 61950 has to be deposited till 15 December. Till 15 December, that means up se leke 15 December, that means beginning of the year se leke 15 December. So whatever has been deposited earlier would be reduced and we get your third installment. Similarly, for the fourth installment, 100% has to be deposited. Whatever has been deposited before 15th March, that would be taken as a credit and the remaining would be given in your fourth installment. Clear? So this is a very quick revision. I hope it is clear. So today, now our agenda is to calculate what would happen if we do not deposit the advance tax. If we do not deposit the advance tax. Acha, who is not required to deposit the advance tax even if their estimated tax liability is 10,000 or more? Even if their estimated tax liability is 10,000 or more, who is exempt from paying advance tax? Shamil, please remind me during the end of the class. Now, we begin the topic, okay? Who is not required to pay the advance tax? Quickly, students. I'm waiting for the reply. The first one to give it correct would get a shout out. Quick. Rafiq Bhai, though you have tried it, but it is still incomplete. Very good, Atulya. So Atulya has given it correct. Senior citizen not having PGBP income. So if you're a resident senior citizen, do not have any PGBP income, you will not be required to pay advance tax, even if the tax liability estimated is more than 10,000 or more. Okay? Clear? So, Mesh, you are in the right direction, but this is not at your level. Okay? So, I'll not reply over it because that is not applicable to you. Very good, Kiran. Very good, Rafiq Bhai. Now, I hope you will remember. Okay? So, now let's begin with our today's topic, which is interest on advance tax. So I was telling you, if you do not pay advance tax, there are certain provisions which would be applicable. That is interest. That is interest. Now, interest क्यों लगेगा? Because you did not pay what you had to pay, correct? Now, there are two types of interest under the default in payment of advance tax. One is 234B, another is 234C. This is the easiest and the best, I think so. Anyway, back to it. 234B and 234C. Now, what does these two sections say? These two sections says, one is that advance tax, if you have not deposited up to 90% of the advance tax, then you have to pay interest on it. So basically, advance tax कब देना होता है? In the previous year, right? In the previous year itself. If you do not deposit the advance tax, it was required to be deposited by you, because everything is a play of estimation, I assume, right? But obviously, as you approach the end of the year, the clarity comes, correct? And when you're approaching the end of the year, the clarity is coming, right? So they say if you have not deposited in the entire previous year the advance tax, at least 90% of your assessed tax. At least 90% of the assessed tax, that means actual tax liability which had to come, उसका अगर आपने 90% नहीं किया, then you have to pay interest under this section. That means पूरा previous year का advance tax I have to take. Now, even if there are 4 installments and the last is of 15th March, with advance tax, I remember I told you anything which is paid during the previous year is advance. So even if I pay anything on 16th March, 20th March, 31st March, it would be my advance tax, correct? So if between April to March of the previous year, your advance tax is less than 90% of your assessed tax, then Section 234B would be applicable. Then Section 234B would be applicable, and as the name of the section says, interest for non-payment or short payment of advance tax, and obviously the advance tax is the advance tax for the entire year. So the government says that okay, 10% estimation can go up and down, but even if you've not deposited at least 90% of it correct, then we'll take advance tax for you. Okay, we'll take advance tax for you. But what is the rate of interest? The rate of interest is 1% per month or part of the month. But now you will ask, ma'am, 1% per month or part of the month, but from where? But from which date to which date, correct? From which date to which date? Now think about it. You have to calculate the advance tax on short payment. You have to calculate the advance tax on short payment of the advance tax during the year. You have to calculate the interest on the short payment of advance tax during the year. Now, जब तक time है वहां से तो you will not calculate the interest. When the time gets over from that period, you will calculate the interest. No rectifications. Think, I have to pay advance tax from this time to this time, right? So the interest would start from the period when this time is over. So the interest would start from the 1st April of the following financial year or the 1st April of the assessment year, right? Up to the date of determination of income under Section 143(1). You will say, ma'am, what is 143(1)? So basically, क्या होता है? Government assess करता है आपका return. Once you file the return of income, which we'll see in the next class, the government assess the income as in for process your income, that whether you have given prima facie all the details correct or not. As simple as that. So basically they calculate the interest from 1st April to the intimation period. This is called intimation. But this is technically, but for you practically you will see when you are filing the return for you, I'm saying. The government will calculate obviously as per this, but for you, you will calculate it from 1st April till the time you actually deposit the tax. आपने गवर्नमेंट का पैसा कितने दिन नहीं दिया? So from 1st April till the time you actually deposit the tax. So if I say interest for short payment would be applicable when, number one, when 90% advance tax is less than 90% of the assessed tax. Number two, what is the advance tax? The entire year ka tax from 1st April to 31st March of the previous year. Number three, what is the rate? First, 1% or part of the, for per month or part of the month. Number four, from when? From 1st April of the next financial year till the time you are actually depositing the tax. Okay? But obviously when government calculates it, it calculates up till this date. But when you are filing the return, obviously you will calculate up till the date of deposit. So on this, now let's do one question. I hope the screen is visible. So this is my estimated income. This is my estimated tax on this income. And assuming that this estimated... Okay, thank you. Thank you. So this is my estimated income. This is my estimated tax on this income. Okay, which says always and surcharge is applicable. I have considered that in this 5 lakhs of professional services are included, and hence the person would deduct TDS at the rate of 10%. So 50,000 is this. So total 8,600 is my advance tax liability. This we did in the previous class also. I have to deposit the advance tax, correct? What are the installments? 15%. Then 45%, then 75%, and then 100%. So these are the amount which I have deposited, and this has to be deposited up to the dates, correct? This is what the scenario has to be, right? But now actually what happened, I deposited only this much amount. So in the first installment, I deposited 10,000. In the second installment, I deposited 15,000. In third, I deposited 20. And in fourth, 26. So total 71,000 has been deposited. Total 71,000 has been deposited. Now, when I came to my assessed tax liability, assessed tax is what? Assessed tax word मैंने use किया. What is assessed tax? Assessed tax is your tax calculated on total income minus TDS, minus any relief or minus credit of MAT, which you will see in the next year. So at your level, you will remember tax minus TDS is my assessed tax. But now you will say assessed tax, I am assuming that this is the final assessed tax. So my estimation is equal to my real actual income. Okay. Now what has happened? I have deposited how much? 71,000 in total of advanced tax in 4 installments. I had to deposit how much? 82,600. Now first I will check whether this is less than 90% or not. So the 90% of 82,600 is 74,340. 92,600 का, sorry, 82,600 का 90% करोगे, so you'll get 74,340. That means my total advance, actual total advance tax is less than my 90% of my assessed tax, because 90% would have been 74,340, right? That means there is a shortage, correct? There is a shortage. The moment there is a shortage in the total advance tax of more than 90% or of more than that 10% of the assessed tax liability, that means I have to deposit the interest also. Interest also. When I'll deposit the interest in the assessment year, I'll calculate the interest. All the calculation of interest would be deposited in the assessment year, number 1. Then how much interest has to be calculated? 1% into the number of months. Now, how would you calculate the number of months? First is the 1st April to what date? So let us assume that this person has deposited the actual tax or the actual amount which was remaining, because you cannot file your return of income until and unless you deposit the entire tax. Okay, on 27 July 2021. So let us assume this person has deposited the remaining tax. The remaining tax on 27 July 2021. So how would I calculate the interest? First of all, 1% per month or part of the month. How many months would come? April, May, June, July. 4 months. Correct? किसी को यहाँ तक कोई doubt? Okay. So 4 months. Now your next question would be, ma'am, on what amount? Simple interest amount पे लगेगा. Interest amount पे लगेगा. अब think about it. Interest, you are a government. ठीक है, government हो आप, you have to recover the interest. Interest you will recover on what amount? What was not deposited, right? Not the amount which is deposited, not the amount which should be deposited, but the amount which is not deposited. So not deposited would be what? 82,600 minus 71,000 or minus 74,340. This is the 90% wala amount. This is the actual amount. deposited, and this is the assessed tax. What is the amount on which the interest should be deposited? Think about it. You are the government, you have to collect interest from someone. Interest is always taken on the due part, which is unpaid. Unpaid is 82,600 minus 71,000 and not minus 74,340. Why? Because obviously 11,600 is the amount which was actually unpaid, not 82 minus 74,340, because this is just a test. This 90% is just a test to see whether 234B is getting triggered or not. This is just a test to see. The moment this is my actual tax is less than this amount, then 234B has to come. But my actual advance tax is more than this amount. Even if there's a shortfall, 234B would not come. Government says 10% upar niche would do and will not calculate the interest. But you have actually deposited nothing or less than the 90% amount, then interest would come. And interest would come on what amount? On the difference, 82,600 minus 71,000. Clear? So 11,600 पे 234B के हिसाब से I'll deposit the interest, because suppose when I'm filing the return I have deposited the tax on that day. So मैंने government का पैसा कितने दिन नहीं दिया? For 4 months I did not give. So on that I would pay the interest. So 1% into 11,600 into 4. So 464 would be your answer. Is it clear? किसी को कोई doubt? So many of you have actually estimated correct. Hitesh, Tanaya, very good. Again, इसमें कुछ rectification नहीं करना. Think of the concept, think of the amount, but write your amount clearly. This is the actual amount. This is the assessed tax. This is the actual advance tax. This should be the tax. इसमें वो fall हो रहा है या नहीं हो रहा. If it is less than that, obviously 234B come. If it is more than that, even if it is not the exact assessed tax, then no interest would come. So if in this example, only that instead of 82,600, instead of actual advance tax would have been 75,000, then no advance. If the actual advance tax deposited would have been 75,000, then even if there is a shortfall, but no interest under section 234B would be applicable. Okay? No problem. Somesh, I hope I answered your question. Very good. So now let's assume in the same example, actually paid was 71,000 in 4 installment, right? Now suppose I paid more tax on 24th March. In this example, make it 22. So I paid more tax on 24th March. I'm not paying it in installments. So I paid more tax of 7,000 on 24th March. I've paid more tax of 7,000 on 24th March. Will 234B come or not? The answer is no. Why? Because there is a I paid advance tax in 4 installment of 71,000, but anything before 31st March is also advance tax. Remember? So they take 7,000 more deposited, which is 78,000. Even if there is a shortfall, but 234B would not be applicable because it is more than the 90% criteria. Clear? Sure. Now let's proceed. Obviously, if you have deposited more of advance tax, the government would not pay you interest under section 234B. There is another section which government paid interest if you have deposited more tax. But obviously, 234B is for non-payment or short payment of advance tax for the entire advance tax. Okay. Now, one thing which might be coming in your mind after doing 234B is that now what is the relevance of installments then? What is the relevance of installment? Because person can avoid interest under section 234B by depositing everything on 31st March of the previous year, correct? Or on 28th March, or just at the nick of the time of the previous year, right? So what is the purpose of those installments? Correct? Because interest अगर एक ही लग रहा है 234B वाला, which is of the entire advance tax which you paid during the year, including after 15th March, then what is the relevance of installments? So my dear friend, installment ka relevance is there. Why? Because 234C talks about the same. Interest in payable, interest payable on deferment of the advance tax. So deferment of advance tax means when you were required to be paid but you did not pay. When you were required to be paid or you did not pay. So this is where your concept of installments come. We know we have, so if what is to be due in that installment, you did not pay in that installment, so जो shortfall हो रहा है उस पे interest लगेगा, as simple as that. Installments are 15%, 45%, 75% and 100%. So whatever you actually pay, in these installments, unka shortfall. So suppose I paid, you had to pay 10,000. We take example 10, 15, 15 and 11. Suppose, okay, but you did not pay these. You paid 5, you paid 6, you paid 7, you paid 3. ऐसे you paid. Okay. So whatever is the shortfall on that, interest would be calculated because they want to ensure that the person should deposit the advance tax when it is required to be deposited. Okay. Entire period is advance tax, but to create more relevance of the installments, they calculated the interest on the installments. Now the question will come, ma'am, what is the interest amount? 1%. Next question, whenever interest is there, obviously the next question is the period of interest. Right? From what time to what time the interest has to be calculated. Now, इतना simple सा बात है कि first installment में जो unpaid रहेगा, right? The shortfall of first installment would be a shortfall for how many periods? Till the next installment comes, because next installment में फिर से you will calculate the shortfall, right? Yes or no? So 15th June तक जो मैंने नहीं deposit कराया, उस पे interest would be calculated up till the next installment only, because now from 15th September I'll see again the shortfall till 15th December. Then from 15th December till 15th March I'll see the shortfall, and then from 15th March to 31st March only. to 31st March only. So can I say that if you make a mistake or if there's a shortfall in the first installment, interest would be calculated at the rate of 1%, but for 3 months only, from 16th of June to 15th of September. Can I say that? Then if you make for 3 months here, so if you make a default in your second installment, again the interest would be calculated from 16th of September to 15th of December. So again 3 months maximum. Then third installment में जो default हुआ उसपे भी 3 months interest from 16th December to your 15th March. Now 15th March के बाद if there is still a shortfall, or then what will happen? Then what will happen? You have to calculate the interest. But कब तक? Actual payment of tax तक? No. Only for that 16th March to 31st March wala period, because after 31st March you're already calculating 234B, right? After 31st March, whatever the shortfall is, you're already calculating 234B, and nowhere in income tax same amount पे double interest या double penalty नहीं लगता. On very particular cases, but same amount पे double interest नहीं लगेगा, right? So 31st March के बाद already you are calculating 234B. So this is practically for that 15 days period, but it is per month for part of the month. So last installment pay will calculate the interest for 1 month. Number 1. Okay. Now how do you have to calculate the shortfall? Simply calculate the tax which is due on your return income, uska 15% minus the advance tax actually paid up to 15 June. Then 45% of the tax which is due minus the advance tax paid by 15 September. Then 75% minus the advance tax paid by 15 December, and then 100% minus the advance tax paid up to 15th March. So can I say that इसमें जो 16th March से लेके 31st March को आपने पे करा, उस पे भी you are paying an interest, उस पे भी you are paying an interest, even if it is an advance tax, but it did not come under the installments. There is this interest is for deferment of advance tax, right? Deferment of the advance tax, which is your time periods of the advance tax. आप उसमें advance tax नहीं deposit करते. So yes, assumingly 16th March to 31st March पे भी obviously, even if you have deposited anything on 16th also, then also you will deposit the interest under 234C for the 15th March wala period. Now let's take an example. Interest is 1% per month or part of the month, always. ये लगेगा सिर्फ 31st March तक, because उसके बाद तो कब क्या होगा, because 234B would come into picture. Okay, now everyone on the screen, same example. My advanced estimated income is 10,50,000. Estimated tax 132,600, TDS which I assumed. So this is now the real income also, 82,600. Installment should have been 15% or 15% of 82,600, 45% of 82,600, 75% of 82,600, and 100% of 82,600. Okay. Now, what are the actual scenarios? Actually, payment happened. What are the actual scenario? Actual payment happened. Is this visible? Okay. So actual payment which happened was 9,000, 15,000, 20,000, 26,000. These were the payment, total 70,000. So obviously there is less amount. Okay. Now the actual payment which has happened is 9, 15, 20, 26. I hope it is now. Okay. So वही same 80 to 600 वाला example we're taking 15%, 45%, 75%, 100%. This is the advance tax that should be. But what has been the actual? 9, 15, 20, 26. Okay. Anyone has any doubt? Chalo, great. What has been the shortfall? How the shortfall would be calculated? First installment, the shortfall is 12,390 should be the case, but actually deposited is 9,000. The shortfall is 3390. Now shortfall for second, you have deposited 15,000. What should be the should be amount? 37,170. Up to 45 should be deposited by 15 September. But what is the shortfall? What is the shortfall? 37,170 minus 9,000 minus 15,000. Because what is the tax which you have deposited up till September is this plus this. So the shortfall is 13,170. Please do not do 24,780 minus 15,000. No. Up to देखो इसको ये तो these should have been the installments. These are the should have been case. This is up to 45% ये रहा. And I have deposited up to 45%. Up till 15 September is 9 plus 50. So the shortfall is 13,170 for the September installment. Then for the December installment, what would be the shortfall? 61,950 minus 9,000 minus 50 minus 20, which is 17,950. And 82,600 का shortfall क्या है? This minus total till actually deposited till 15th March. So 12,600. Now interest has to be calculated. First you have to calculate the shortfall. I hope shortfall is clear. Now actual interest would be how much? Into 1% into 3 into 1% into 3 into 1% into 3 into 1% into 3 into 3 नहीं into 1. Okay, clear? So how much is the interest due which is coming? Total interest under section 234C is 1161. Is 1161. This plus this plus this plus this. Take your time. Write down this example. Write down so better. Calculate this example yourself and tell me if the answer is not coming. Sorry. इसमें कभी typical case आने वाला. I'm not saying 234C is done, but step by step. Are you shortfall clear हुआ? Shortfall is up till that paid क्या difference है. So up till that date, 45% has to be deposited. Suppose in the second installment, but you actually deposited how much? 9 plus 15 only. So 37,170 minus 9 plus 15, 13,170. Up to 45% उस date तक deposit होना चाहिए. Do not see this scenario. Do not see that what should have been deposited. What is the total cumulative amount that has been deposited? That would be the shortfall. Again and again, I'm saying advanced tax is all about you have to see the accumulations from 1 to level 2, level either installment 1, installment 2, 3, 4. Okay? Because अगर ये clear नहीं हुआ, next वाला concept would not be clear at all. Jyoti, for the last installment, we are taking 1 month because वो calculate हो रहा है only from 16. How much is the shortfall for how many months? From 16th March to 31st March only. Part of the month हो गया, so full month ले लिया 15 days. Why we are not calculating after April? Because April से 234B is getting calculated. That's why. Okay, should be okay, Ayushi. चलो great. Now यहाँ पे ना there is one thing which is written, which is very apata. Okay. They are writing this note. This note. Let's read this note first, okay? However, if the advance tax paid by the cessee on the current income on or before 15th June or 15th September is not less than 12% or 36% of the tax due on the returned income, respectively, then the assessee shall not be liable to pay interest on the amount of shortfall on those dates. किसी को कुछ समझ आया पढ़ के? They are saying कि 15th June और 15th September तक instead of 15% या 45% आपने 12% और 36% भी डिपॉजिट कर दिया, instead of 15 और 45 आपने एटलीस्ट 12 और 36 भी डिपॉजिट कर दिया, then no interest would be calculated. No interest would be applicable for those default. For what default? Only for the first installment default and the second installment default. So आपको कितना करना होता है? 15% and 45%, right? But instead of 15-45 आपने 12 and 36 भी कर दिया, अगर actual में at least 12 and 36 भी कर दिया, then we'll not calculate the interest on the first and the second installment. On the first and the second installment. Why they did so? Because obviously, initial beginning of the year there may not be much clarity, right? But by the you are there or you have crossed half of the year, and by the time you come to third installment, government assume that the clarity should come. Okay, so for the first installment, they are giving a relaxation limit. For the first installment, they are giving a relaxation limit. This question can come typically at a your level if the paper set is very tough. So now, ma'am, can you give an example? Yes. सेम वही एग्जांपल लेते हैं 82,600 वाला, ठीक है? 82,600 is my tax. Okay, everyone here, please. So assume 82,600 is my tax due on returned income, ठीक है? 15% has to be deposited. 45, 7,500, right? Now actual deposited are 10,000, 21,000, 20,000, 26,000. Now you will calculate the shortfall. Quickly calculate the shortfall. Please do not see this. If you have seen this, see how you are coming to it. Quickly calculate the shortfall. This is my first. This is my second. This is my third installment and this is my fourth installment. सबका shortfall आ गया 12,000 minus 10,000 2390 37 minus 10 minus 21 6170 61 950 minus 10 minus 21 minus 20 10,950 and 82,600 minus 10 21 20 26 which is 5,600. ठीक है अभी तक what did I tell you कि shortfall पे 1% करो for 3 months इस installment का 1% करो 3 months इस installment का 1% for 3 months and 1% for 1 month. This is what we understood, right? But एक check करना पड़ेगा for first and second installment. एक check आपको करना पड़ेगा for first and second installment. Now what is this check? You have to see that whether you have deposited up to 12%, this figure is up to 12% of my sales tax and this figure is up to 36% or not. The actual wala figure is up to 12% or up to 36% or not. So 10,000 divided by 82,600 comes to 12.107. That means this 10,000 is more than 12% of 82,600. Even if it is not 15%, which should have been the scenario, but it is at least 12% of what? Of the tax due. It is at least 12% of the tax due. How did I calculate it? 10K minus 10K divided by 82,600. Okay. Okay. That means this interest which you would have otherwise calculated on the shortfall should not be calculated. No interest is charged. No interest is required to be charged. Similarly, this up till 15 September, if 36% has been deposited, which is 10 plus 21, which is 31 divided by 82,600, comes to 37.53. That means I have deposited, if not 45%, which should be this, but I have deposited at least 37.53%, which is more than 36%. Then, which as per the relaxation given, this interest should also not be applicable. But yeah, on the remaining installment, 10,950 into 1% into 3 months, you have to do 556. Now 1% you have to do. But if you are depositing at least 12% or 36% on first and second installment respectively, then even if there is a shortfall, no interest would be calculated. And hence my actual interest due under section 234B would be 328 plus 56, which is 385. Clear? So before calculating the interest, you will see that up to this installment and up to second installment, up to again and again, I'm saying not on second, up to means cumulative. If 12 and 36 is deposited, no interest. So this and this would not be there. Okay? You want to note this? इलावसी 12% आप कैसे कैलकुलेट करोगे कि आपने 12% कैलकुलेट किया है या नहीं? Whatever is deposited divided by total tax liability which should be deposited. अगर मेरे को किसी भी चीज का परसेंटेज निकालना, मैं कैसे निकालती हूँ? बेस को डिनोमिनेटर एंड व्हाट जिसका परसेंटेज निकालना है उसको न्यूमरेटर. So I have to see whether first installment तक I had deposited at least 12%. So actual upon me what should have been, which is 82,600. ठीक है. Then by second installment whether I have deposited my at least 36%, that would be actual deposited till second installment. That means पहले का भी second का भी total divide by 82,600. अभी I'm giving one question to all of you. So yes, Hitesh, so first two installment में interest नहीं आया. Why नहीं आया? Because 12 and 36% was deposited, and that is what the note says. एक बार फिर से वो note पढ़े. Now it will make more sense. Now the note अब फिर से पढ़ते हैं. However, if the advance tax paid by the assessee on the current income on or before 15 June or 15 September is not less than 12 or 36% of the tax due or the returned income respectively, then the assessee shall not be liable to pay interest on the amount of shortfall on those dates. On those dates, yani only for first and second installment. Now I give a question to you to solve. Please, everyone on the screen. Okay. So for you, a question to be solved is, my income is 16,45,000. Okay. The tax is 3,18,240 on this. I am giving you the tax amount also. Okay. This is entirely professional income, and on this entire TDS of 10% as deducted. Total हो गया liability of tax due is 153,740. Now you have to calculate the installments quickly. Calculate the installment which should have been as per advance tax. Just 1 minute for everyone. See, practice quick. Calculate the installments which should have been there for advance tax. So if in next 10 seconds nahi installments आया, installment which should have been, that means advance tax अभी समझ नहीं आया. 23,161 up to 15 September, 45%, which is 69,183 should be deposited. But obviously, if 23 is deposited, then 46,122, 75% of 153 should be deposited. That means in this installment, if you're depositing actual pura, then 46,122, and by 15th March, 1,53,740 has to be deposited. Okay, now on you, these are the actual payments, okay? 16,000, 39,500, 45,000, and 41,000. Okay, these are the should be case, so these are the actual payment. Take 2 minutes and tell me what is the interest to be calculated under section 234B. शांति से solve करना, 12% वाला limit calculate करके. These are the actual payment. These are the installments. Quickly tell me the interest under section 234C, not B, sorry, 234C. B पे भी आ जाएंगे, but 234C. everyone honestly calculated. Actual इधर है, should be case इधर है. What is the 234B? 234C. 234C. B is very easy. टोटल इंटरेस्ट चाहिए मुझे फर्स्ट इंस्टॉलमेंट सेकंड इंस्टॉलमेंट का नहीं. अगर क्वेश्चन में 234C का इंटरेस्ट आता है, दैट इज द टोटल इंटरेस्ट. शॉर्टफॉल तो निकाल ली बाबा, बट इंटरेस्ट आई वांट. डू नॉट फॉरगेट टू चेक 12% एंड 36% वाला लिमिट. Elaboracy, this would have been the right answer, but you have forgot to check 12% and 36% wala limit. The first person to give it correct, my God, Himanshu, very good. Very, very, very good. Himanshu is the first person to give it correct. Good morning, Rama. No. So I'll reveal the correct answer in next 1 minute. Do you want more time? 1 minute. ठीक है? प्रेशर में करना सीखो थोड़ा थोड़ा. No, Rafiq bhai. No, Atya. No. Elaboracy, I want the correct answer from you because you had calculated the installments right. Now I want the correct answer. आपने 12%, 36% correct नहीं किया. So only Himanshu has given the correct answer. No, Vaishali, no. Ayush also has given the correct answer. Very good, Ayush. Last 30 seconds. Obviously, I'll do. Last 30 seconds. So Ayush, Himanshu, obviously I hope it is clear now. Total interest under 234C. Okay, time's up. Hitesh, very good. So the 3% to give it correct first was Himanshu, then there was Ayush, and then there was Hitesh. So very good. Atya has given it correct, not Hitesh. Atya has given it correct. Very good, Atya. Okay, so everyone, all the smarties come on the screen, please. So what did I tell you? I told you to see whether for the first installment, whether 12% and 36% is coming or not, right? Correct. What is the tax due? 1,53,740. Right? कितना 153,740. Yes. Now, in the first installment, at least 12% of 153,740 should be deposited. But कितना हुआ है? 16,000 divided by 153,740, which is hardly 10%. Hardly 10%. That means on this shortfall, interest definitely would be calculated. So 7061 into 1% into 3. Okay. Now, second installment में 39,500 हो गया. But up till second installment, how much is deposited? 39,500 plus 16,000. ठीक है. For 55,500 divide by 1,53,740. So 36%, almost exact, has been deposited. There is shortfall. No one is denying of shortfall, but the government is giving a relaxation. कि ठीक है 45 नहीं हो रहा तो 36 करा दो. So 55,500 is coming exactly almost to 36%. So that means this shortfall pay, there is no interest applicability. Then obviously 45,000, अब यहाँ पे तो simply shortfall करना ही है third and fourth का. So shortfall कितने का आएगा? 45 plus 5,500, 90. 1,05,500 should have been deposited. Is deposited, and 14,805 is the shortfall here. 41,000 is deposited. So total 1,41,500 is deposited. What should have been deposited? 1,53,740. So 12 to 40 का shortfall है. तो इस पे 1% into 3 and इस पे 1% into 1. Okay, and the interest would be simple. ये नहीं होगा. This 778 is the case. This is just for you to make you understand. अगर ये जिनका 1189 आया है, because you calculated on the second shortfall also, but second shortfall का interest नहीं लेना. Okay, so how to do 234C का question? Calculate actually paid, calculate the installments, which should have been the case. Calculate the shortages, okay? But now when you are calculating the interest, first see the actual paid for the first installment is coming to 12 or 36. If yes or no, for that shortage you will not calculate the interest. Simple. Clear? So जिनका आंसर नहीं आया था, can you please analyze where the mistake was? There are no such questions जो ऐसे डिटेल में बताएंगे. Please now focus. ठीक है? So Hitesh, I hope it is clear. Analysis done. कि कहाँ गलती था? Good. See, you were the first one to give 1189, but that was not correct. I hope you got it right. See? Chalo, great. So with this 234BC clear? Chalo, great. Now take a deep breath. Now we will proceed into our third segment, which is your tax collection at source. Basic concept. So अभी तक we did advanced tax. Advanced tax we saw how you calculate the advanced tax, how you calculate the interest on advance tax, which is 234B, which begins from 1st April to the time you actually deposit your return of income. Government calculates it and the department calculates as per their intimation. That is for you at this level not important. Okay? Then 234C is for the installments wala part. Installments wala part, we did 3 questions, one normal question, one where then 12% and 36% were meeting for both, and one where only 12% was meeting, not meeting, but 36% was meeting. Okay? And we calculated how the installments pay interest has to be calculated if there is any deferment of installment. Clear? So, जो भी आप advance tax deposit करोगे, उसका आपको credit मिलेगा while filing the return. Now, the third concept in this chapter is TCS. Though TCS is given as a basic concept, but yeah. 1 second. Sorry. Though TCS is given just as a basic concept, but we are doing 5 sections in which TCS is to be collected. TDS को थोड़ी देर के लिए break पे डाल दो because you will get confused. Or if you can relate, simply deduct कौन करता था? जिसके पास power होता था to give the income, right? जिसके पास right था to give from his pocket. That's why he used to deduct. Here it is all about collection. So who will collect? The person who is collecting the money. इतना दिमाग में रखना, we'll understand the concept of TCS. Now TCS under income tax is under section 206C. Like TDS has independent sections 192, 194, 4A, 194C, J, 194J. All of these are independent sections. 206C एक common section है where TCS is there. उसके बाद different types of TCS are there at the different types of subsection. So for you at this level, you have to do subsection 1, then subsection 1C, subsection 1F, subsection 1G, and subsection 1H. This is very important. So before going to the break today, we'll do one TCS section so that you can understand it, get your mind fresh on it, and then after the break, we'll do the remaining 4. 206C subsection 1. Now everyone, please listen here. यहाँ पे deductor का concept नहीं, यहाँ पे collector का concept होगा, obviously. Now there is a person who is a seller. There is a person who is a buyer. Section 206C subsection 1 is on sale of certain goods. And on certain goods ka sale, you have to collect the TCS. Seller will collect TCS from the buyer. He will give him the goods. He will collect TCS. He will collect the payment. So payment ke साथ over and above, he will collect TCS. बिल का पेमेंट के साथ बिल का पेमेंट भी व्हाट गुड्स का अमाउंट प्लस जीएसटी का अमाउंट, उसके ऊपर ही विल कलेक्ट टीसीएस, उस पे ऊपर ही विल कलेक्ट टीसीएस. सो बायर इज पेइंग एडिशनल फ्रॉम हिज पॉकेट टू द सेलर. जस्ट लाइक सेलर यहाँ पे टीसीएस कलेक्ट करके इट इज हिज रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू डिपॉजिट इट टू द गवर्नमेंट. अब क्रेडिट किसको मिलेगा? ऑब्वियसली बायर को. टीसीएस का क्रेडिट वुड बी गिवन टू बायर बिकॉज उसने अपनी पॉकेट से एडिशनल पे किया टू सेलर दैट यू गो एंड डिपॉजिट इट टू द गवर्नमेंट. Seller is not paying anything from his pocket. Seller is just collecting the bill and the amount which he has to collect, but now he has the responsibility to collect TCS also. Okay, so he will collect the TCS and the buyer will get the credit of it. Okay, clear. Now, who can be the seller? Again, any person. Any person other than individual HUF, and individual and HUF only when same. Yes. Individual and HUF only when in the previous year, in the preceding year, the turnover is more than 1 crore in case of business, or gross receipt is more than 50 lakhs in case of profession. ठीक है, because compliances किस पे है? Seller के ऊपर है. All the compliances of collecting TCS, depositing it to the government, filing the return, issuing the certificate is on seller. Is on seller. So seller कौन होगा? Any person, but individual HUF only when they have certain limits, because छोटो taxpayers को we do not want to burden with compliances. So he will collect the TCS, पैन नंबर लेके, बायर क्या देगा? अपना पैन नंबर, बिकॉज उसके क्रेडिट पे जाना है, तो बायर का पैन नंबर इज रिक्वायर्ड टू बी गिवन. ओके, नाउ बायर कैन बी अगेन in this particular section. So every section का collector collectee is different. So in this particular subsection, buyer can be any person, but not सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट. आप उनसे टीसीएस नहीं कलेक्ट करोगे, उनसे लेके उन्हीं के क्रेडिट पे दोगे. नो, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, PSUs, लोकल अथॉरिटी, योर एम्बेसीज एंड हाई कमीशन. यहाँ पे कुछ क्लब्स भी हैं, ट्रेड यूनियंस. ठीक है, एक बार जस्ट सी दैट बस फॉर यू, जस्ट दीज आर इम्पोर्टेंट. ठीक है, बट ऑल्सो योर बायर हैज टू बी वन मोर पर्सन हु इज exempt from the provision is the person who purchases the goods for personal consumption. Number कौन से goods? I am telling coming. Who purchases the goods for personal consumption? But this section is only applicable for certain goods. Certain goods are, what are the certain goods? Certain goods are these only: alcohol, तेंदू लीव्स. तेंदू लीव्स क्या होते हैं? जो बीड़ी में लीव्स यूज होती हैं, दैट आर तेंदू लीव्स. टिम्बर from forest trees and other than forest trees, or any other forest produce but not being timber. So can I say forest produce पे 2.5% है, कोई भी forest produce हो. अगर टिम्बर है तो भी 2.5% है. टिम्बर लीज से लिया है फॉरेस्ट लीज में तो भी 2.5% है. टिम्बर अदर देन फॉरेस्ट लीज में तो भी 2.5% है. या कोई फॉरेस्ट प्रोड्यूस है तो भी 2.5% है. ठीक है. स्क्रैप and mineral being coal, lignite or iron ore. So इनके sale purchase पे the seller would collect TCS from the buyer. From the buyer. तो सबसे common लेते हैं, which everyone can relate to, alcohol. Alcohol को अगर कोई खरीदेगा, उसमें seller would collect TCS from the buyer. But now you will think, ma'am, we know buyer कभी TCS देता नहीं. We have gone to purchase the alcohol and उसपे तो we have never paid the TCS. You are correct, because I told you that personal consumption buyer is excluded. So if you consume the alcohol for personal consumption as a buyer, then TCS would not be collected from you. Then TCS would not be collected from you. What are the rates for TCS? What are the rates? The rates are separate for each good. If you're talking about alcohol, they will collect 1%. 1% of what? 1% of the invoice amount. Invoice amount, which is total value, taxable value plus GST. वहाँ पे TDS में we never calculated TDS on the GST part, right? But यहाँ पे TCS would be collected on the total value plus GST. So 1% of total invoice value, 5% in case of tendulis, 2.5% in case of forest produce, scrap में 1% and mineral oil lignite में 1%. So if a buyer is purchasing scrap, he has to give 1% from him. Only if the seller is the person who files the who is any person, but other than individual and HUF, and individual and HUF only when he or she has a turnover of more than 1 crore or more than 50 lakhs. ठीक है, 1%, 5%, 2.5% and 1%. Alcoholic liquor, tendulis, forest produce, scrap and mineral oils. Now what is scrap? Scrap can be anything which cannot be used in the same form from which it is derived. If I can use something from the same from which it is derived, then obviously it is not scrap. Which cannot be used as it is not scrap. But which can be used as it is not scrap. But if cannot be used as it is scrap. But yeah, packing material and all of these are not your scrap. Scrap like अगर कुछ चीज खराब हो गया उसके बाद कुछ निकल के आ रहा है, दैट इज स्क्रैप. बट अगर वो चीज वैसे का वैसे यूज हो सकता है. सेकेंड हैंड गुड्स आर नेवर स्क्रैप. ओके, सेकेंड हैंड गुड्स आर नेवर स्क्रैप. बट यहाँ पे वन मोर कंडीशन विच यू हैव टू रिमेम्बर इज दैट equal person would be exempt from collecting TCS if the buyer, who is a resident person, no TCS would be collected if the buyer is a resident person. Number one. Gives a declaration that I will be using the produce for further manufacturing or for power generation, then the seller will not collect the TCS. For further manufacturing or power generation, then the seller will not collect the TCS. Ma'am, meaning सिंपल सा लेते हैं, अल्कोहल का कॉन्सेप्ट लेते हैं. ठीक है, अल्कोहलिक लिकर. सेलर कौन होगा? सपोज देयर आर मेनी ब्रूअरीज. एक बीन संटेरी करके एक सेलर है, ठीक है, वो प्रोड्यूसेस लिकर. ही वुड बी सेलिंग टू अ बायर. द बायर सपोज करो इज अ सैनिटाइजर कंपनी. If the sanitizer company is a buyer, obviously they are not purchasing for personal consumption, then the buyer has to pay TCS. But if the buyer tells that I am a resident person and I will be using your alcohol for further manufacturing, which is making sanitizer, then the seller will not collect the TCS. So can I say if buyer purchases it for personal consumption, that is automatically excluded from your TCS का provision under section 206C subsection 1. But if a buyer gives a declaration, then also that he will be using it for manufacturing or power generation, then also he is excluded from collecting TCS. ठीक है, but first वाला personal consumption के लिए you do not have to give declaration, you're automatically out of the scope. But second के लिए you have to give a declaration, and that is only for resident buyer. And declaration में he will give his PAN number. ठीक है, so first concept 206C subsection 1 clear. किसी को कोई doubt? These are not reverse charge mechanism. This is separate. See, government ने ये बहुत ही पुराना section है, introduced somewhere in 1970, 1980. Why they did so? Because ये जो purchases है ना scrap के, all of these were small purchases. तो उनसे information नहीं आता था about what are they doing and all those things. So that's why they applied the provisions of TCS. You have to think yourself in the place of seller while doing it. वहां पे आई यूज्ड टू से कि डिडक्टर को सोचो, डिडक्टर को यहाँ पे कलेक्टर बनना है आपको. Pooja, I hope the concept is clear. Though there is no income, you're saying कि buyer को income नहीं हो रहा, seller को income हो रहा है. Basically, government want to know कि where actually to the deep root where these certain goods are used. Rama, very good question. The buyer is having turnover more than 1 crore, then the liability to deduct TCS is on the payment of buyer. No. If the buyer, वहां पे आप सोचो कोई buyer ऐसा section है until unless it is 194Q. ठीक है. Mr. Babu A, can you please take this doubt at the end of the class? I'll give 5 minutes to clarify all your doubts because we've started one topic. ठीक है. TCS collect करना है, that's it. So 206C subsection 1 done. With this, I'll give you a break. We'll be back in 10 minutes and we'll do the remaining 4 section. Why I'm doing it this section before break so that you can take time, make yourself understand, अच्छा ये होता है. Because that switch between TDS and TCS is not easy. At a first point of time when I was also doing, it was a bit challenge. But दोनों को independently समझेंगे, confusion नहीं होगा. Okay? ठीक है. So thank you. See you in 10 minutes. So welcome back after the break. I hope the concepts are clear. Yes, elaboracy scrap can be anything. It can be electronic scrap. It can be anything, any scrap. But it cannot be used as it is. जो अपना first form में था, उसी form में वो दोबारा use नहीं हो सकता. As simple as that. ठीक है? Pooja PS, it's not that you are levying GST, pay TCS, so it's a double taxation. No, GST is a separate one which is given on a value addition. TCS is what is a part which you are paying on the consideration, which is total consideration. You will get your credit for the same on the income tax, and income tax would be always on your income. Okay, so section 206C, subsection 1 clear, very common section. Mostly it comes, it's the oldest section of TCS. I hope everyone has noted the buyer and the seller part. Okay. Next is my concept of 206C subsection 1C. Under TCS, lease or license of a lease for or a license of a parking lot, toll plaza or mine or quarry. Now, इसमें क्या होता है? Collector कौन होगा? The licensor or the lessor. Who would be the collector? The person who is giving the license. So the licensor. From who we would collect? The person who is paying the lease rentals, the licensee or the license amount. Now, generally, if you go to any mall, or if you go to any parking, any market, okay, generally the parking spaces of the government. See, market में parking space government का होता है, but they gave on lease to third parties. Okay, that third party collect parking from you or from any visitors, right? अगर आप mall में भी जाते हो, for second basements में, upper ground जो भी है, the mall wala may be giving that parking collecting right to some third party for what? For a license amount or for a lease amount. Okay, so for this person who is taking that area on parking, he will obviously be getting parking amount from the visitors. Okay, but that is not important for you. But unko wo right kaise mila? By purchasing a license or by giving a lease rental. Okay, by purchasing a license or by paying a lease rental for it. Okay, so on that amount which they will be paying as a license fee or as a lease amount, on that the collector will collect TCS. On that the collector will collect TCS. What would be the rate? The rate would be at 2%. At 2%. So collector would be the licensor. He can be any person other than individual or HF, individual HF only if in the preceding year the turnover is more than 1 crore in the case of business, or gross receipts are more than 50 lakhs in case of profession. Collector can be any person other than PSU. हर एक का collector is different. Please make a note. So this is subsection 1C. Again, from your perspective, the basic understanding is enough. Next, 206C subsection 1F. Please mark it very important. ठीक है. Now this is on sale of motor vehicle of value exceeding 10 lakhs. Sale of motor vehicle of value exceeding 10 lakhs. आपने किसी का motor vehicle बेचा, you have sold it for more than 10 lakhs. On that, you will collect TCS from the buyer. Again, on that, you will collect TCS from the buyer. So, who is the seller? Any person. Buyer, again, can be any person. They will make the payment plus the TCS amount. Okay. Buyer can be any person. But यहाँ पे remember any person other than PSU engaged in carriage of passengers. ये सब कुछ लिखा हुआ है in the table. Do not worry, but we are doing it one by one. ठीक है? Or central government, state government, embassy, high commission. All of these would be covered here. So now, motor vehicle is being sold by the seller to the buyer, and he will collect TCS only when the value is exceeding 10 lakhs. Only when the value is exceeding 10 lakhs. Okay, now the question would come to your mind, मैम हम गाड़ी लेने जाते हैं, आपने गाड़ी लिया, अगर वो गाड़ी 10 लाख से ऊपर का है तो आप देखोगे in that whatever the pro forma which they give, उसमें they will be calculating 1% of TCS also, and they will say कि सर आपको क्रेडिट तो मिलेगा, हाँ आपको क्रेडिट मिलेगा, but you have to pay it first. You have to pay it first. Government is saying कि अगर आप इतना वैल्यू का गाड़ी खरीद सकते हैं, that means you may have certain income. That means it's better to give 1% as a TCS, which could be ultimately reflected in your account. Okay, now you will say, ma'am, there is this manufacturer, which is Toyota. Then there is dealer, and you purchase it from the dealer, right? Dealer stores होते हैं, right? You do not go to Toyota का factory to purchase it, or do you? No, you don't. ठीक है? आप dealer के पास जाते हो, distributor के पास जाते हो to purchase the car, right? So on this retail sale which is happening, उसपे the customers say they will collect 1% TCS. उसपे the customers say they will collect 1% TCS. No TCS would be applicable when the manufacturer is selling it to the distributor, because obviously dealer or the distributor will also be making payment to the manufacturer, but here there is no TCS. So it is only on retail sale. It is only on retail sale. Clear? Now next question you will ask, ma'am, from the same dealer I purchased one car, okay, in April. Then I purchased another car in January. Okay. I purchased one car in April 21 and I purchased another car in January 22. Now, एक कार मैंने खरीदा 8 लाख का, एक कार मैंने खरीदा 9.5 lakhs का. Same dealer से, ठीक है? Now, will he collect TCS? The answer is no. There is no aggregate condition. 10 lakhs is not divided into various sales. It is per sale, per transaction limit. Okay, so per car, if it is not crossing 10 lakhs, then they would not be taking TCS from you. Okay, so if you are free, go to a dealer store, ask them for a car which is for a value of 10 lakh. You will see in that pro forma they are collecting TCS from you at the rate of 1%. Okay. Any doubt under section 206 C1F? See, what if we are purchasing car on EMI? See, EMI to be if you are purchasing, but unka jo total amount hoga na, EMI is what? We are just funding it from the bank, right? Unka but jo total amount hoga na, which has to be paid to them, उस पे उन्होंने 1% कवर कर लिया होगा आपसे, ओके? एंड वो डाउन पेमेंट में वो रिकवर कर लेते हैं दैट मच अमाउंट. Even if card is for personal use, does not matter. Does not matter. गवर्नमेंट को है कि आप 10 लाख से ऊपर का गाड़ी खरीद रहे हो, दैट मीन्स यू हैव सर्टेन इनकम्स, राइट? सो व्हाई नॉट डिपॉजिट टैक्स बिफोर हैंड बाय वे ऑफ टीसीएस ऑन दैट? Hitesh, yes, I was coming to it. So if the sale is also applicable on second-hand car also. So if you're not purchasing from dealer, but say from Cars 24 or Cars Deco, all of these things. So whenever there's a sale or purchase of motor vehicle, there and of the value of exceeding 10 lakhs, TCS would be applicable. TCS would be applicable. And इसमें भी सेम सेलर, वो भी सेम वन सबसेक्शन 1 वाला, सब सेम. ओके, करेक्ट. कोई डाउट? ग्रेट. बट कैन आई आस्क यू वन थिंग? यहाँ पे एक थोड़ा सा स्विच लेते हैं, थोड़ा सा माइंड लगाते हैं. 194Q वाला, उसमें क्या होता है? 194Q में इफ यू आर द बायर्स, if you are the buyer purchasing from a single person more than 50 lakhs, so the dealer is the buyer, he's making payment for more than 50 lakhs from Toyota, will he deduct TDS in the section 194Q? The dealer, ये वाले पे TCS is not applicable, but dealer is the buyer, and if he has the turnover in the preceding year of more than 10 crore, will he deduct TDS while making the payment? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. So it does not mean that if a particular section is not applicable, that does not mean that no section would be applicable. You have to have a full tray of the sections which are there, and then you see, अच्छा इसमें नहीं तो क्या इसमें, इसमें नहीं तो क्या इसमें. Okay. If you purchase a card from individual, then also TCS would be applicable, but you are the buyer, right? And the seller is an individual. He will collect TCS only when if he is having a turnover of more than 1 crore in the preceding financial year in case of business, or 50 lakhs in case of profession. Processes. Chalo, great. Now let's proceed to another section, 206C, subsection 1G. Overseas remittance or an overseas store package, 206C, subsection 1G. Everybody on the screen, please. ध्यान से सुनना प्लीज. यहाँ पे एक ओवरसीज टूर पैकेज का भी कॉन्सेप्ट है, बट अभी आपके लेवल पे ओनली रेमिटेंस इज देयर, सो आई विल ओनली कवर द रेमिटेंस पार्ट. आपको रेमिटेंस करना है, ठीक है? आरबीआई और FEMA is Foreign Exchange Management Act. These are applicable, ठीक है? RBI का guidelines are applicable whenever you have to deal by foreign exchange. If I'm not wrong, you are allowed to transfer 250,000 USD freely. Otherwise, if you have to transfer more, then you have to take permissions from RBI and all those stuff. But we're not getting into that. Okay? What we want is that if you have to make some foreign remittance, you have to do it through authorized dealer, right? You have to do it through authorized dealer. आप authorized dealer के पास जाएंगे and you will actually any person, you will give them the amount which has to be transferred outside India, and they will transfer it. They will transfer it, correct? So when you are giving the amount, they will collect TCS if the amount is remitted outside and the aggregate of the amount which is remitted is more than 7 lakhs. Okay? If the amount is remitted outside and it is more than 7 lakhs. So they will collect TCS from you at the rate of 5% on excess amount. So suppose if some of your brother is staying outside and you have to send him money. Okay? You have to send him money. If you're sending up to 7 lakhs, that is not an issue. But the moment you sell more than 7 lakhs, they will collect 5% on the excess amount. So if you're remitting 8 lakhs, so 1 lakh pay, 5% they will collect. So 5,000 they will collect as TCS from you. Obviously, it will come to your credit, but yes, this they will be collecting. These section 206C, 1G and 1H are very new sections developed in the last 2-3 years. So again, government wants to cover all the channels through which they can get information of money flow in the economies, right? How are money going from one part to another? So this is one way where they collect TCS. How? If you're remitting, so remitting more than 5 lakhs, more than 7 lakhs, so excess part pay on the excess amount. I'm saying again and again, they will collect the TCS. But here, if you're remitting anything for the purpose of education and you have taken a loan out of it, you're remitting an amount taken from a loan obtained from any financial institution, not from your relatives, but for the purpose of pursuing education. Suppose हार्वर्ड में आपका रजिस्ट्रेशन हो गया, ठीक है, अब हार्वर्ड में पैसे भेजने के लिए यू विल गो टू द ऑथराइज्ड डीलर, ठीक है, फॉरेन रेमिटेंस होगा उस केस में ओनली, एंड इफ यू हैव टेकन दैट लोन फ्रॉम फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन, उस केस में इंस्टेड ऑफ 5% the TCS rate would be 0.5%. Instead of 5%, the TCS rate would be 0.5%. So if you're remitting more than 7 lakhs for the purpose of education taken through a loan from a financial institution, then on the excess amount, 0.5% would be considered. ठीक है? आपका brother बाहर पे रहता है, he's studying there. If you have taken a loan and you're giving it to him, उसका remittance would go for 0.5% TCS on the excess amount. On the excess amount. But if you're spending something for his, if you're sending something for his maintenance, then it would be 5% of the excess amount of 7 lakhs. Okay, so if I have to conclude it, the authorized dealer would collect from you the TCS at the rate of 5%. In case of remittances of more than 7 lakhs, the TCS would be collected on the amount in excess of 7 lakhs. Similarly, if the remittance is from the education loan which have taken from any financial institution, then instead of 5%, they will collect TCS at the rate of 0.5%. You will not collect TCS from the government, central government, high commission, embassy, legislations, consultate, trade representations of a foreign state, local authorities. All of these are not covered here. Okay? Here? किसी को कोई doubt? इसमें ओवरसीज स्टोर प्रोग्राम का भी एक पार्ट आता है where the package wala will collect TCS from you, but that is not here at your level, so I will not take it up here. Okay. Sure. Great. Next is extremely important section 206C 1H. Please, everyone on the screen, extremely important section. One second. Okay, now what does this section says? This section says sale of goods of value exceeding 50 lakhs. Pehle we'll understand the section independently. Then we'll understand the interplay of these sections with various sections which we have done under TDS and TCS. Okay. Here they are generally saying this section was introduced in October 2020, effectively from October 2020. Sale of goods of value exceeding 50 lakhs. कुछ सुना सा लगेगा, no worries, no problem. Let's understand what this section says. First of all, they say the seller will collect from the buyer TCS. Will collect TCS bill amount के साथ साथ TCS they will collect from the buyer at the rate of 0.1% on a consideration exceeding 50 lakhs at the time of receipt of consideration. At the time of receipt of consideration. Here the seller can be any person who has a turnover of more than 10 crores, in the preceding financial year. Now, since the TCS rate is at 0.1% of the consideration exceeding 50 lakhs, so this section gets triggered when the sale is of more than 50 lakhs. When the sale is of more than 50 lakhs. When the sale is of more than 50 lakhs, then section 206C subsection 1H would get triggered to collect TCS. At the rate of 0.1% of all the consideration exceeding 50 lakhs. And this would be collected from whom? Buyer can be any person. Buyer can be any person other than same central government, state government, high commission, local authorities, embassies, all of those things. Okay? So other than this, so if there is a sale of more than 50 lakhs, if there is a sale of goods, not services, sale of goods of more than 50 lakhs, then the seller will collect 0.1% on the consideration exceeding 50 lakhs. So 60 lakhs का अगर sale हुआ है during the year, on 10 lakhs they will take 0.1%. Simply 1,000 from you. Extra 1,000 from you. कोई doubt? No. बट नाउ यहाँ पे समझते हैं इंटरप्ले 194Q में भी कुछ ऐसा पड़ा है सेल परचेज तो मैम हमने 206C सबसेक्शन 1 में देखा है 206C सबसेक्शन 1F में देखा है 206C 1G में देखा है बिकॉज दैट इज आल्सो सेल परचेज ऑफ रेमिटेंसेस देन हमने 194Q देखा है 194O देखा है सो isn't all of these confusing? Definitely for the first time it will, but now let's take it scenario by scenario. पहले लेते हैं the confusion which comes under section the TCS वाले sections. Okay, step by step चलते हैं. ठीक है, TCS वाले sections. If section 206C subsection 1 is applicable, which is sale on of certain goods. ठीक है, उसमें there is no limit. Even if you are selling for 1,000 rupees. And you are a person who has more than 1 crore wala limit, you have to collect the TCS, okay? Or you are any person, there is no limit. So if a transaction is covered under section 206C subsection 1, that means if you are a seller of scrap, if you are a seller of alcohol, if you are a seller of forest produce, then 206C subsection 1 would be applicable. Okay? Suppose, and if you are a seller of motor vehicle on retail, then as a seller 206C 1F would be applicable. right? No, you will not go to 206C1H. Why? Because when a specific section is there, you do not go to a general section. Agreed. But yeah, you can say Toyota and distributor pay. Toyota being the seller can collect TCS under section 1F. Correct. They can collect TCS under section 1F. But 194Q, wait, धीरे धीरे. ठीक है. If 1G is applicable, authorized dealer का sale क्या है? Obviously, the one they are doing it for the foreign remittance. If 206C 1G is applicable, then obviously 1H would not be applicable. So 1H can be applicable on those circumstances where these particular sections are not getting hit. Okay? If these sections are getting hit, then 1H would not come into picture. Okay? Now let's understand the interplay of 194Q here. पहले 194Q को फटाफट रिवाइज करें. 194Q क्या था? Everyone on the screen, confusion would happen if you will run before what I'm explaining or run after that. साथ साथ चलते हैं. Okay? 194Q क्या था? Buyer is purchasing goods from seller. He, while making the payment, I always write this, so why don't you write it like that? Okay? He, while making the payment, will deduct TDS. But this will only happen if the buyer exceeds the turnover of more than 10 crore in the preceding financial year, and obviously the sale purchase with them is more than 50 lakhs. Correct? Yes. But here 194O भी हमने पढ़ा था e-commerce वाला. E-commerce वाले में क्या था? The e-commerce participant makes the payment if he is receiving the payment from e-commerce operator, which is your Amazon. Obviously, he will make the payment, so they will deduct the TDS. So even if the transaction here, if a transaction is falling under 194O, it will not go in under 194Q. So first, आपको हमेशा specific section देखना है. So the sale purchase between them, basically the consideration which they are paying for the goods sold through their platform. For that, even if it is more than 50 lakhs, then you will not deduct the TDS under section 194Q. You will deduct the TDS under section 194O. तो O clear हो गया, TCS के respective sections clear हो गए. But confusion अब कहाँ है? Between 206C 1H and 194Q. Right? Now here there is a confusion, correct? Now 194Q is a TDS section, and this although came from July 21, but this will supersede my TCS section. What did I say? This will supersede my TCS section. दोनों sections में एक चीज लिखा हुआ है. No TCS would be collected if some TDS is collected or TCS is collected in some other section. इधर 194Q में भी लिखा हुआ है. No TDS would be collected under 194Q if TDS is collected under some other section or TCS is collected under some other section. But here, because there are specific sections, but these two are general sections of sale and purchase of 50 lakhs. Okay. Now which one to apply is the condition, right? So here you have to remember that 194Q will always supersede 206C1H. So if both are applicable, then only one has to be applied. And that would be 194Q. Ma'am, can we please do it in detail? Yes. So what you have to do is, this section triggers when there is a sale and purchase of a value exceeding 50 lakhs. Correct? This we all agree? Right. So जब sale and purchase is of the value of exceeding 50 lakhs, what you have to do is, simply you have to see yourself first as a buyer. If you are the buyer, assume yourself as a buyer. If you are the buyer with a turnover of more than 10 crore in the preceding financial year. First of all, the trigger happens of a turnover more than 10 crore in the preceding financial year. Simple, आप कभी भी सेल परचेज कर रहे हो and think yourself as a buyer with turnover more than 10 crore in the preceding financial year, then you have to see one thing. कि अगर आपका सेलर के साथ more than 50 lakhs का पेमेंट है या नहीं है. अगर सेलर के साथ more than 50 lakhs का पेमेंट है, then you have to deduct TDS under section 194Q. बट अगर आपका सेलर के साथ 50 lakh का पेमेंट नहीं है, तो no TDS and obviously you will be not collecting TCS also because you are not the seller. So for you as a buyer, if there is a 50 lakh transaction, and first you have to take your responsibility only when you are a buyer of more than 10 crore turnover in the preceding financial year. सिंपल, अगर आपका सेलर के साथ 50 लाख से ज्यादा का ट्रांजैक्शन है 194Q, अगर नहीं है तो नो TDS TCS. सिंपल. नाउ assume yourself as the seller. Assume yourself as the seller. Now a situation will change. Seller who of a turnover of more than 10 crore. More than 10 crore. Main confusion यहाँ पे आएगा because 206C1H would not be applicable, right? It can be triggered. So first you have to see two things. If buyer के साथ आपका 50 लाख से ज्यादा का ट्रांजैक्शन है या नहीं, right? If buyer के साथ less than 50 lakhs का ट्रांजैक्शन है, then no TCS, correct? You can sit back and relax. Buyer के साथ more than 50 lakhs का ट्रांजैक्शन है, then you have to see two things. अब यहाँ पे क्या देखोगे? अगर buyer का turnover, if buyer का turnover in the preceding year is more than 10 crore, or if buyer का turnover in the preceding year is less than 10 crore, right? If buyer का turnover is more than preceding year, then he will collect TDS. Sorry, he will deduct TDS. So you do not have to collect TCS because he is deducting it. He is already deducting it, then you do not have to collect TCS. But if buyer का turnover is less than 10 crore, then you will have to, he will not collect TDS, no TDS under 194Q. You have to collect TCS under 206(1)CH. समझ आया? सो एक ट्रांजैक्शन में देखो अगर सेलर का टर्नओवर ज्यादा है या बायर का टर्नओवर ज्यादा है. अगर सेलर का टर्नओवर 10 करोड़ से ज्यादा है तो सेलर के पर्सपेक्टिव से डू दैट क्वेश्चन. इफ बायर का टर्नओवर इज मोर देन 10 करोड़ देन बायर के पर्सपेक्टिव से डू दैट क्वेश्चन. बट अगर दोनों का टर्नओवर 10 करोड़ से ज्यादा है तो बायर का पॉइंट वुड बी एप्लीकेबल, सेलर का पॉइंट वुड नॉट बी एप्लीकेबल. एज सिंपल एज दैट. ठीक है, you can draw this table and let me know if there is any confusion. We'll do one question from this. Take your time, read it from wherever you want. We'll give 2 minutes to this topic. No worries. And we'll do one question also. So capital gain, very good पूजा. Capital gain में तो immovable property वाला section लग ही रहा है ना 194IA. Yes, Pooja, even income earned here and remitted outside here, then also this section would be applicable, which is 1G. Is it clear? So overseas tour program package में 5% TCS collect होगा ही irrespective of any amount. So do not confuse this interplay को अगर आप याद रखोगे 10 करोड़ किसका ज्यादा है, जिसका भी ज्यादा है उस पर्सपेक्टिव से सोचोगे the section would be clear. Pooja, I'll be taking, do not worry. अब अगर इसी thought पे if I ask, can you do one question? Where's the question? 9.63. इक्वेशन करेंगे तो और क्लैरिटी आ जाएगी, ठीक है? ग्रेट. On the screen, please. Mr. Gupta, a resident Indian, is in retail business and his turnover for financial year 2021 is given to you. It is 12 crores. ठीक है? He regularly purchases goods from another resident, Mr. Agarwal, a wholesaler, and the aggregate payments made during the year 21-22 was 95 lakhs. 20 lakhs on 1st June 2021, 25 lakhs on 12th August 2021, 22 lakhs on 23rd November, and 28 lakhs on 25th March. Assume the said amount were credited to Mr. Agarwal account in the books of Mr. Gupta on the same date. Mr. Agarwal's turnover is 15 crores. Examine the TDS TCS implication, if any, under section 190. Oh, sorry, they have not written the section. So you have to calculate the TDS TCS implication. Now, first thing first, remember I'm telling you again and again, and last class में किसी ने पूछा भी था कि मैम July 21 से 194 Q has come, right? What will happen on such? July 21 से 194 Q has happened. So 50 lakh का turn limit देखने के लिए of the transaction, you have to take it from the entire year, which is April से starting से you have to see. But हाँ, if 50 lakhs is crossed before July, you will not collect the TCS on that. But yeah, if 50, क्योंकि वो तो provision आया ही नहीं था, right? But if 50 lakhs crosses after July, you will collect the TCS. But the entire year has to be seen for seeing whether 50 lakhs का transaction has happened or not. Okay. So now on this, let's do this. अब यहाँ पे buyer का turnover, who is Mr. Kwan? Mr. Gupta is the buyer. And who is the seller? Mr. Agarwal is the seller. पहले तो ये identify कर लेना question में, नहीं तो confusion हो जाएगा. Okay. Buyer का turnover more than 10 crore है. The moment buyer का turnover is more than 10 crore, you do not have to see the seller part. As simple. You have to collect TCS. You have to collect TCS. You have to deduct TDS. Sorry, you have to deduct TDS. कौन से सेक्शन में? 194 Q में. Why? Because transaction is crossing more than 50 lakhs during the year. What is the TDS का rate? TDS का rate is simple. 50 lakhs के excess पे the TDS has to be deducted at the rate of 0.1%. दोनों का TDS rate is same. वहाँ पे TCS rate is same. यहाँ पे TDS rate is same. Now 50 lakhs के excess पे. तो 1st June को जब transaction हुआ, Obviously TDS was not there, but yes, 20 lakhs. 12th August को transaction हुआ. Is it crossing more than 50 lakhs? No. No TDS. The moment 23rd November को transaction crossed more than 50 lakhs, TDS would be deducted. कितना transaction हो गया? 20 plus 25 plus 22. कितना transaction हो गया cumulatively? 20 plus 25 plus 22, which is 67. So on excess, which is 17 lakhs, you will deduct the TDS at 0.1%, which will come to 1700. So while making the third payment of 22 lakhs, he will deduct the TDS of 1700. Correct? Correct? Yes or no? Clear? Now they ask what could be your answer different if Mr. Gupta's turnover was 8 crores. All facts remaining same. A buyer ka turnover is less than 10 crores. That means 194Q does not come into picture. Now हम कौन से section की तरफ जाएंगे? TCS के section में, which is 206C. 206C, right? Now we'll be moving towards 206C1H. Now quickly solve 206C1H के according what would be the TDS TCS liability and who would be collecting it? Mr. Agarwal? Yes. So quickly tell me the answer. For no issue. सबका आंसर आ गया? One second. Yes. Yep. But TCS provisions would be there for Mr. Agarwal to collect TCS, correct? Clear? Very good. Now, what would be your answer change if PAN is not furnished? सबसे पहले, if PAN is not furnished, let's do part 1, क्योंकि part 2 तो अभी सिखाया नहीं. ठीक है? In part 1, where the buyer has to collect the TDS, which is Mr. Gupta wala case. Remember, I told you if PAN is not there, the rate as per section or 20%, whichever is higher, is applicable, right? In case of 206AA. But when we talk about 194Q, 20% की जगह it is 5%. Correct? So यहाँ पे instead of 0.1% of 17 lakhs in the first transaction, he will be collecting 5% of 17 lakhs. And obviously the second transaction which was left, which is 28 lakhs पे भी again 5%, which would be 1,40,000, and 17 lakh for 5%, 85,000. So total TDS would be deducted here. So 28 lakh ka 5%, which is your 140, and 17 lakh ka 5%, which is your 85,000. So total TDS deducted here would be on 23rd November and on 25th March. ओके कोई क्वेरी किसी को? अभी टीसीएस वाला पार्ट पे वी आर कमिंग. ये वाला पार्ट क्लियर? टीडीएस नहीं होगा तो क्या होगा? सुमेश, हितेश, आयुष, बसंत, सबको क्वेश्चन क्लियर हो गया पक्का से? ओके. So I hope the confusion between the interplay of 194Q and 206C gets clear with this table. ये टेबल माइंड में रखोगे, बहुत सिंपली दोनों सेक्शन हो जाए. बट या दोनों के डिफरेंसेस याद रखना, दोनों का कॉमनैलिटीज, द रेट इज द सेम, limit is the same, but yeah, and वहां पे ना देना is 5%. Now what happens here? Now before that, first of all, एक क्वेश्चन किसी ने नहीं पूछा मुझसे, मैम वहां पे टाइम ऑफ डिडक्शन होता है. इज देयर एनी टाइम ऑफ कलेक्शन इन टीसीएस ऑल प्रोविजंस व्हिच वी सॉ सबसेक्शन 1 में, 1C में, 1F में, 1G में, 1H में? आर देयर एनी टाइम प्रोविजंस, टाइम ऑफ कलेक्शन? I was waiting for this question to be asked, but no problem. So time of collection in TCS is same, debit or receive, whichever is earlier. यहाँ पे consideration receive करना या the amount which is debited, whichever is earlier, उस पे टीसीएस कटेगा, उस डेट पे टीसीएस कलेक्ट होगा. स्विचिंग इज वेरी टफ. उस डेट पे टीसीएस कलेक्ट होगा. बट अंडर सेक्शन 206C 1F एंड सेक्शन 206C 1H, which is my sale of goods and this is my motor vehicle, इन दोनों पे only at the time of receipt of consideration, the TCS would be collected. Only at the time of receipt of consideration, the TCS would be collected. Okay. So for 206C 1C and 1G, this time limit, and 1F and 1H के लिए this time limit. ठीक है? Clear? Now there are FAQs which you can study. That would be simple. Now to the last segment. If PAN is not provided by the collectee, then what will happen? If PAN is not provided by the collectee and if return is not filed by the collectee, same non-filer wala is a specified person, same criteria. If he has not filed the return for 2 assessment years, immediately preceding to the 2 assessment year relevant to the previous year, immediately preceding the previous year in which the TCS is to be collected, that specified person, and he has not filed the return and the aggregate TCS or TDS in each year is more than 50,000. Remember, same. वहाँ पे, यहाँ पे भी same है. यहाँ पे भी same है. If no PAN is provided by the collectee, or if the collectee is a specified person, then the higher rate would be twice the rate of the section, or 5%, whichever is higher. Here also and here also, twice the rate or 5%, whichever is higher. But instead of 5, this would be 1% under section 206C1H. So अगर 1% होगा instead of 5 when we're talking about 206C1H, otherwise it would be twice the rate of 5%. So can I take an example here? One second. Yeah. So in this case, when we're talking about 206C subsection 1, simple. Yeah, but twice the rate would be 2%. If no PAN is provided, the TCS would be collected at the rate of 5%. यहाँ पे टेंडू लीज के केस में TCS would be collected at the rate of 10%. Because twice the rate or 5%, whichever is higher. Forest produce के केस में ultimate rate is coming at 5% only. Scrap के केस में 5%. Mineral और lignite ores के केस में भी 5%. Right? So if no PAN is provided for by the collectee. Clear? And that 1% is for both. Higher rate, यहाँ पे भी instead of 5%, it would be 1%. आपके book में it's written only for that 1% in case of 206C1H. If no PAN is provided, then also 1%. ठीक है? Clear? So now you can do that example again, where the higher rate is applicable 5% in case of TDS, but 1% in case of TCS. Mr. Gupta and Agarwal wala question. Okay, so that's all from my side on TDS TCS. I request everyone to go word by word of this particular section, this particular chapter in all. You can ask your queries also in this section. Today's class, and you can take it up in the next class also. The next class would be the last class for the income tax, I believe, and you have coming up classes where you'll be computation of the tax. But whatever topic I've taken up in the past month and this month, you're most welcome to ask any of the queries. So please go through all your doubts and let me know. Okay? Some circulars, 1 or 2 were specifically skipped, was just to make you understand the topic first for that particular time. You can do it or give it a read, but all the important part and all the part which is necessary is being covered. So any query of the entire chapter 9? Yes, Vijay, TCS collector, sorry, I skipped that part. TCS collector will also have to have TAN, where I gave you in the beginning only. The TCS collect करने वाले के पास TAN होगा, but obviously he has to take the PAN for the collector to give him the credit of the tax collected from him. Table बना के करना सब easy हो जाएगा, okay? Ayush, thank you so much. It's a pleasure. Likewise. What good thing I found about your batch was everyone was very participative. So thanks a lot. Now Babu was asking one question regarding advanced tax. He had some query. Where's the query? If SSC is paying 90% of the tax directly in last due date without paying any regular installment, then what would be the applicability? Very interesting. So if he has paid 90% or more, then 234B would not be applicable, but 234C would be applicable because he has to deposit it for the entire installments. And if he's not doing 234C, तो जितना due बनता था उस पे 3 that would be the shortfall. And उसपे 3 months का interest would be applicable. But yes, if you're talking about presumptive employees who only have to deposit the advance tax in presumptive accessees who have to deposit the advance tax in single installment. So unke liye 234D is applicable because that happens after 1st April, and 234C is applicable only for that last installment. So only 1% interest is for 1 month. Any other query? I hope you got all the concepts. TCS ka return filing, deposit dates, all of these are not at your level. Abhi only concept part is there. किसी को और कोई query? Next class would be about return filing. So please go through this particular section. This is a very, again, as I've said it in the entire 4 classes, this particular chapter is a chapter of practical applicability. As soon as you go in your articleship, or if you are into an articleship, you may have seen the importance of this particular chapter. But 194Q and 206C 1H में please confuse मत होना. दोनों independently है, but interplay आएगा if one is applicable, another would not be applicable. And first you have to see 194Q is applicable or not. Okay? So anyone has any query? We'll wait for another minute to wrap up the class. If you have no doubt, you may leave. All the very best. If anyone has any doubt, I think Vishali, the schedule is not updated yet. I'll ask the backend team. Today, I think वहाँ पे provision of return filing आ रहा है. Wednesday को it is the last class. Okay. Babu has one more doubt for previous. He's saying a child who's studying abroad needs 50 lakhs of annual expenditure other than education loan. What will be the amount? So collection liability अगर आप 3 अलग-अलग authorized dealer से करोगे तो obviously it would not be there. Very interesting. If the buyer and seller दोनों का turnover is less than 10 crore, then obviously 50 lakhs wala transaction is not getting triggered either in 194Q or 206C1H. Nothing comes into picture. But yes, you have to see कहीं वो sale purchase certain goods का तो नहीं हो रहा under section 206C1 और motor vehicle का तो नहीं हो रहा under section 206C1F और वहाँ पे आपका 194O is not getting triggered. So be careful on that. Thank you so much, Somesh. So instead of sharing my journey, I'll just share one thing. It might be true for me, but not be applicable for you. So just remember one thing. There is a process. CA is a process. First of all, it will take its own time to settle in. Do not rush it. Do not compare your journey with someone else. Someone else might have done 5 chapters and you might be thinking, oh, he has done 5 chapters or he has done 5 subjects and still at one. You have to see your own preparation. एक चीज अच्छे से होता है, then only proceed to another. So this has been my principle in my life also, and otherwise, even if you're doing one thing, do it with honesty. If I'm teaching one particular concept, I want to teach it with a better way rather than doing it all concept in a rush. Okay, similarly, when I used to give an exam, I used to do one question अच्छे से, then go to the other instead of giving half attempt for each. So किसी में शायद marks आए, but obviously that being said, that does not mean that I have to be a slow snail and do only one question in exam. The point is, whatever you do not give any half-hearted attempt on it. Okay? So if you go by this, you will definitely learn. Probably for me it worked. that you will definitely learn it more, and always be always have that learning attitude. Always have that learning attitude. Even today, I also find so many new things to learn for the topic which I might be teaching for the 7th or the 10th or the 11th time. Okay? Education person partly is for maintenance and abroad. Exceeding 50 lakhs तो है नहीं, exceeding 7 lakhs है. So education loan जो proper education loan की तरह जा रहा है, उसका remittance जो मर्जी हो, जिस मर्जी purpose के लिए हो, but as in either it's for the personal purpose of maintenance or for the Harvard, वो education loan amount से जा रहा है. The moment it goes by that, it would come under 0.5%. So Babu has asked, though this is not for your syllabus to do, but yeah. So he's saying that advanced tax payment के लिए कौन सा चलान होता है TDS TCS के लिए? You go to 10th side, वहाँ पे आप Google पे भी लिखो advanced tax payment or TDS payment. This is all what will appear. 281 is by payment of TDS TCS by company or non-company deductee. If you have deducted TDS or have collected TCS, you will proceed here. You just have to fulfill the details which they ask. कि आपने किस का deduct किया है, whether you are a company deductee or a non-company deductee, whether TDS is payable by taxpayer, which I'll come to you. You will select here, not regular assessment, nahi. Bank name, put in the amount, your TAN number, and this is done. Advanced tax के लिए 280 के लिए वो advanced tax, self-assessment tax. Self-assessment tax is the tax which you pay after your previous year, which we'll see in the next class. You have to just simply collect whether you're a company or other than company. If I'm other than company, I'll just click on the 100 wala column and then I will put in my amount, my assessment year, my permanent account number, and that's it. This will be redirected to your internet banking and all those stuff. Okay. Chalo, great. So thank you so much. और कोई question होगा, we'll definitely take in the next class, but be prepared. We'll be devoting last 15 minutes of the class to your questions only. Okay? Chalo, thank you so much. Take care.